Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Adult Arts and Crafts from the Warren County Library. Today, I'm going to make some ugly Christmas sweater ornaments. So if you need a little Christmas right this very minute, you're in the right place. So I'm going to jump right in and step by step showing you how to make these adorable ornaments. You put the camera down onto the table and we will begin. So here you can see some options for how you might want to make your sweater. These were some little Christmas sweater ornaments that I've made. So your basis is really a piece of felt, and then you're going to build on top of it with something like this is just a sticker from Hobby Lobby that I've sewn down with thread. This is a wire with some beads to make it look like it's your Christmas lights. And here's just some felt holly with some berries. And I'll show you step by step how I made this. I'll show you step by step how I made that one. How about a sweater like this with a little reindeer that I got in the Hobby Lobby in the Christmas department. So the ideas are endless. They're up to you. You can look in your own supplies and see what little trinkets you might have to pretty up your sweater. You might not want to call it an ugly sweater when you're done. You might want to call it a fabulous Christmas sweater. So I'm going to take you through the steps to make one for yourself. Now, if you have used our calendar to sign up for the class, our registration page, where obviously you don't have to register for these, I've given you a pattern, directions for the stitch, and step by step how to make the little hanger. So if you didn't do that, watch underneath this video and I'll add that link to this pattern as well. All right, so if you do not have that link, I will give it to you under the pattern. So, under the video. So, I like to mark my felt by using freezer paper. Now, I don't know if you know what freezer paper is, but if you're a big-time crafter, you probably do. It's paper that you buy right by the tin foil in the supermarket, and it has a shiny coating on the back, which is plastic, and it has paper on the front. So, if you cut your pattern from freezer paper, you can fold your freezer paper and cut multiples at a time. And then after you have your multiples cut, you can lay them out onto a piece of felt and you can press them on with the iron. And then when you cut around them, it's very simple to follow the line and have everything come out exactly the same size. So you can see my pattern is the same side to side. So your felt will be the same front and back. So if there's a piece of felt that you don't like something on the back, make that inside your sweater and you won't waste any of your fabric this way. If you don't have freezer paper, that's totally fine. You can just mark around your pattern and cut it out carefully so you don't see your marking lines. But I did happen to mention if you have freezer paper, it is a very nice way to press onto felt and cut it out accurately, okay? So if you have cut your felt out, I'll put that on the side. The next thing to think about is how you want to decorate your sweater. You really want to decorate the front of the piece first because it's much easier to do that and then sew it together to its back. So here are some ideas that I had that you might want to use for making your sweater. The reindeer that I showed you was just in a little package like this from Hobby Lobby. There are lots of things out for Christmas right now. There's little wreaths like this. You might want to sew the wreath right onto the front of your sweater. How about stopping in the dollar store and finding some pretty stickers? There are a lot of three-dimensional stickers out in the world right now, and what I would suggest doing is actually sewing the sticker on. It's a foamy sticker, so it stands away from the sweater and really, really ends up looking pretty. So there are other stickers that I found that were gorgeous as well. These are great ones. They're plastic, and I sewed right through them to hold them on. So let me grab one here and show you. So for instance, here this Santa, I just sewed by hand directly through his belt, back and forth and back and forth to hold it onto my sweater. I also sewed across his hat, back and forth by hand, because I want this to last. Now, if you were doing something that you didn't care about it lasting, you could just stick it on because it's a sticker. But I want this to last for many years, so I sew it on, all right? So that's a really interesting option, that there are so many very, very sturdy, very three-dimensional stickers available. So this entire sheet was $2.49. So it's also something that is very affordable to do, to make a sweater like that, which I think is adorable. I found these earrings that are bows, and I thought, hey, I could make a Christmas package on a little sweater and attach the bow right there and have a three-dimensional bow. So I think that would make a really cute little sweater as well. In terms of stickers, Dinosaur Christmas is very popular this year. We're actually having a dinosaur Christmas party at the library next week on Tuesday. And here's a dinosaur celebrating Christmas that I could sew, and I would stitch him on right onto my sweater. Something I did for somebody I love is I took a photo of their pet, and this is Fozzie McBain. He's a very famous dog. And I actually resined the picture, so it is permanently resined, and I put it on top of a sweater. So who knows what you might want to put on the front of your Christmas sweater, but how about bells? Here's some bells. You know, when you're crafty, you always have little things around like this that you've stored from one project to another. I think bells would be very, very good on one of these. All right, so move this over to the side. And I'm going to walk you through one of these sweaters so you can see how I did it step by step. So here's a sweater that is one just like this one. And in this case, I used a black wire because it happened to be the wire that I happen to own. And I just bent the wire into a shape that approximated to me what the Christmas lights might look like. So you see it here, and I fit it onto the sweater and cut it to size. I had a silver wire, so I thought, well, why don't I try one? I think that might be festive looking. And I'll show you how I sewed it on. Now you can see that I put one pin in just to hold it in place while I was stitching. And what I do is I come back, and this sewing term would be called couching. I just changed into my magnifying glasses so I could see what I was doing. And if you can see, what I do here is I come up on one side of the wire and go back through on the other side, and I'll do a few stitches so you see. I travel forward by about a half an inch or so, and then go right back down. And each time I do that, it helps secure this wire to the front of this ornament. So I'm going to just travel around a little bit. So I think you get the idea, and I think you can hopefully see what I'm doing. It's just a simple up and down, and it's going to keep that wire, and I'll do it all the way till I reach the end, and it keeps the wire in place on the front of the ornament. Now, this one you can see I couched the black wire onto it, and then I come back and just about just where I did my same stitches, I would come back and grab a little bead. And these are just some beads I had in my collection that are multicolored, and I thought, oh, they're quite bright and they look like they could be the light on that wire that I'm going to put on my tree. Let me grab another one. I really can't see. There I go. And let's see, I'll just put the stitch down, giving a little bit of space. And you see, as I continue to go, I put some on the inside and some on the outside. And before you know it, that is complete. And then it would be time just to sew the front to the back. So I will show that with a different one. So you can see that stitching the parts on to the front would be the first way I would go to build that ornament. Now, the ornament with the holly on it, I'll change my glasses so I can see what I'm showing you. I cut my front and my back out, and I used that freezer paper method where I pressed my freezer paper onto the felt and cut it out, so I had my front ready. And so when I wanted to make little holly for this one, I did the same thing. So I cut little pieces of holly from this piece of green felt. So as you see, as I do it, then I collect a bunch of pieces of holly and then carefully come back and pin them in place where I want them to be on my ornament. Now I'll grab this. I have, in all cases on these, I'm using DMC embroidery floss, and I basically use 3 strands. So the way you buy your floss, it comes like this in a skein, and when you see what the thread actually looks like, it has 6 strands. So you really want to separate it into into 3. So if you save your floss on holders like this, like I do, because I have a box where I keep all of my floss, I will show you when you unwrap it, it's kind of wrinkled. It has a bend in it from every time it's gone around that holder. If you happen to do that, I always just dampen my fingers and I straighten it out because I want the stitches to be straight. So I'm just going to throw that out as an option. If you find that your thread is not laying flat, if you just dampen your fingers and run it along, you'll see that it'll lay very, very flat and make very, very neat stitches. I have seen online that they do direct to separate your floss 1 strand at a time from the skein. I always just cut it in 2 and pull 3 out, and it works just fine for me. So whatever works for you. So here we are with the holly ready to go on, and it's kind of hard for me to see where I am. But to stitch the hollies on to the front, just a simple up and down tacking, I guess I would call it a tacking stitch. And you can see how simple it is to tack that holly on. And then always knot on the back, because this will be the inside of your sweater. And so no one's going to see those knots. And then when I knot it, I also cut the thread a little bit close to the knot to not make a big lump inside the sweater. So once you've stitched your hollies down, you can come back and put these berries on. And I just switched to a red piece of thread, and I just put 3 berries right at the meeting of your hollies. Now, the last thing you do to connect your front to your back is to use a blanket stitch. And I have shown a blanket stitch before when we made the donuts, but I'll show you again today. My method for doing the blanket stitch is, so I've got my 3 strands of floss. I have put a knot in it, and someone may ask what size needle. I do whatever needle I have that I can fit those 3 strands through that eye without a problem. And you don't want a huge fat needle. As long as you can just fit your 3 in, that's probably the right size. It's probably an embroidery needle. I just have a whole bunch of needles, and I just grab one that seems to be comfortable. So when you're about to start your blanket stitch, I want the knot always to be on the inside because you don't want to see it. So I would go, I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to continue to here. So I'm going to put my point of my needle right inside and pull it tight so that knot is hidden. So now when I close it, you can see there's no knot. And also in this way, when you start that way, all of your stitches that you're making are on the top, and you can see what you're doing. If you stitch to the back, you can't see what you're doing. You want to see what you're doing. With the blanket stitch, you put your needle underneath each stitch like that. I'll show you as I continue. So the next stitch is going to go just a little bit further away. I'm going to pull it all the way, almost all the way through, and then I'm going to feed my needle through there. When you feed the needle through there, it starts making this continuing thread that will keep the edge from fraying. So I think they called it a blanket stitch because if people use this on a blanket or any fabric that might fray, it creates a really nice little cover for that whole edge. So I'm just going to make a few more stitches as I go. I find this type of stitching to be very, very relaxing. It's really basically a gift to yourself to be able to sit quietly at night and do a little bit of stitching. You know, give yourself 15, 20 minutes. For goodness sake, we're giving our time to everyone else all day long. Give yourself a little bit of time to sit and do something that's relaxing. I've said it before, I understand that stitching like this at night will lower your blood pressure. It's just like picking up your paintbrush and doing a little bit of painting. So I hope that you see as I continue along, the stitches, you want them to be regular if possible. They look neat if they're regular. And I think you start getting kind of a rhythm as you go. And okay, when it's time to end, say I ran out of thread and I wanted to end, or say I got up to this neck and I wanted to end, I would always end just like I started, inside on the wrong side of the piece, and that's the inside. So I would take a stitch into here and pull that one tight. Sorry, it's a little hard to do this while I'm seeing it. And I'm going to make the knot inside the sweater. And I might tie this knot twice. I hope you can see. It's hard for me to see on the camera at the same time as I'm doing it. And I cut that knot closely. And now I'll straighten that out. And you see, you don't even notice that I have done anything to stop. So if I was about to now come back and begin again, sure enough, I would begin inside in the back, just like I started here at the beginning. I will continue all the way to here. So I hope that's pretty clear. You can always stop and watch this again and stitch along with me. If you're within a week or so, this will be up on YouTube as well. So you can always go back and watch it and stitch along. Now I want to show you how to make the hanger. The hanger is one of the things that makes this such a fun little project. So Again, the directions that I gave you, and I will post a link when I'm done with this video, I'll post it right underneath. I'll show you how to make the hanger. So I have 2-inch paper clips. So some of them have these little lines in them and some of them don't. It doesn't really matter which kind you have, whatever you like to use. I will do one here with the little lines in it so you can see. So I would suggest, and I have done this for myself once I figured it out, I look at it and I lay it out just like it looks in the picture right there. And then what I want to do is I want to take this piece and bend it up, just like that. And I'm going to bend this piece up just like that. Do you see I'm following that step 2? Now, for step 3, we're going to make that top of the hanger. So this is where I have a tool. So I have a little plier and I have a little cutter. Those are the only tools I needed to do this. Everything else is just done with my fingers. So in order to make the top where you can hang it up, I'm going to grab it right here with my little pliers, and I'm going to bend it up. And you can see it's almost ready to hang. So at this point I can cut off this long piece. I'm going to show you what level I'm at. I'm going to squeeze this, and this is not the best cutting tool that I have, so I have to kind of force this. Sorry about that. My fingers are saying no. There you go. All right, so what's left is, it almost looks like a hanger, but what I have to do is take these pliers and I'm going to grab this little bit right here with my pliers, see that? And I'm going to bend it right around, and I think I might just give it a little squeeze. And then straighten out the top. And my hanger is complete. The 2-inch hanger is going to fit this pattern perfectly. And that is a very normal size of a paper clip. So you can see you could sit down and make a bunch of these in an evening and be ready for that. So let's see where I'm at. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope I gave you some ideas how you can brighten your Christmas and someone else's Christmas too with a beautiful little gift like this. And really, you could take the time for yourself to just unplug a little bit, relax, do the stitching, and this will benefit you twice. It'll lower your blood pressure, it'll give you something fun to do, and then when you're done, you have a beautiful gift to give to someone, a child that you love, or a grandchild, or a friend. So I hope that this is something that you'll try yourself. I hope that this helps brighten up your Christmas and someone else's Christmas too. A handmade Christmas is the best kind of gift. So it's not how much we give, it's how much love we put into giving. And when you give a handmade gift, sure enough, everyone will know. Let me bring my camera up. Everyone will know how much you care because you took the time to send them something that's meaningful, made from your hands and your heart. So I thank you for coming again to this class, the Wharton County Library video class for adult arts and crafts, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. I wish you all a very, very happy and healthy holiday season, and we look forward to seeing you in the library. Have a great day.